and take out their political opponents. They are purging their own perverts to set the precedent that even a mere accusation of sexual impropriety should be enough to destroy someone. Now, we at INFOWARS have been predicting that the Democrats would be exploiting this Weinstein effect to attack Trump. They need sacrificial lambs to boost debunked sexual accusations made against President Trump during the 2016 election cycle, and perhaps even make up new ones. Well, lo and behold, that's exactly what former Fox News host Bill O'Reilly is now predicting. He says there's going to be a huge fake sex assault claim against Trump coming in January based around fake accusations of sexual assault. He says that this is happening because the Democrats are in a panic and they've got to go all in right now because Donald Trump actually has a pretty good chance of getting reelected. So they've got to destroy him now with accusations. O'Reilly said there's an audio tape of an anti-Trump person offering $200,000 to a woman to accuse Donald Trump of untoward behavior. He said that there are at least 3 crimes on the tape. He also added that Donald Trump knows about the tape and should be drawing attention to it to highlight how the entire raft of sexual assault allegations against him is an industry, that there are false charges and that there is money changing hands. Now, O'Reilly says that he's getting this out now because he is not going to allow the country to be deceived. Everyone believes everything at face value these days, and so that is a very powerful weapon that you can use against your enemies. If the precedent has been set where anyone can be destroyed by a mere accusation, well, then all that's going to do is create huge incentives for both parties to launch fake accusations, which that's really concerning when you think about the future. Now that we know AI is actually able to create indistinguishable false realities, humanity soon won't be able to tell the difference between reality and a simulation. Kit Daniels talked about these new advancements in graphics manipulation, which allows image-to-image translation, meaning they can take outdoor photos taken in winter, transform it into the summer. It's not limited to just photography. They can actually do it with videos as well. In reality, they're driving in the winter, but the simulation makes it appear as if they're driving in the summertime. And so the ramifications of this technology are enormous because the politically persecuted could soon be victims of fabricated video evidence presented by the mainstream media as undeniable proof of wrongdoing, which people will accept without question because the general public takes everything at face value. Now, we know some of Trump's accusers have come out once again. They first reared their heads during the 2016 election cycle, and then they kind of largely went away when President Trump threw in the face at the debate Hillary Clinton's husband is a rapist. And why wasn't the mainstream media ever concerned with calling out Bill Clinton on his very serious sexual assault allegations? Well, now that Hillary Clinton's dreams of the presidency are nothing but that, total fiction, they don't have to protect the Clintons anymore. And so now they can make sexual assault allegations front page news. And so that was one of the things that really harmed them during the election cycle, is because of their hypocritical stance with Bill Clinton, President Trump was able to throw that in their face. And that's why we're seeing the Democrats purging their own, clearing their house so that they can claim the moral high ground, so that they can say, well, look, we made Al Franken resign. We told Conyers to step down. So now they can start clearing house so that they won't have anything that the right or the Republicans can use as ammunition for this next election cycle. And they can just say, look, President Trump has all of these women coming forward accusing him of sexual impropriety, and we're supposed to just believe the women, forget about due process, and he needs to be impeached, he needs to step down, and at the very least, he cannot run for re-election. So they're already getting ahead of the game and setting him up to where he will not be able to go run for re-election because his chances are looking really good. Now, INFOWARS has pointed out these women who have come forward are supported and funded by the billionaire.
That's Leanne McAdoo breaking down the hijacking of the Me Too movement and the double standard of the Democrat Party. When we come back, it's Roger Stone on the War Room.
Welcome to the War Room. I'm your host, Roger Stone, with my colleague, the incredibly well-dressed Owen Schroyer. And we are on top of the latest gambit by the Democrats to turn the tables in the Me Too movement. Now, Owen, I watched that press conference of the Trump victims the other day. And my impression was that the women were stilted, very clearly coached, and the whole thing had a bogus feel. They did not look to me like even the kind of women that Donald Trump would have assaulted. In some cases, the president says he's never met a number of these women. I give full credit to Alex Jones, who months ago said this was coming. The instant the Weinstein scandal broke and the Democrats' dirty laundry started to unravel, it was Alex Jones who said they're going to recycle the phony charges of sexual assault against the president. They're going to try to harness the energy released by the Weinstein revelations to take down the president. And that's exactly what has transpired.
And then if you have Bill O'Reilly with this tape that he's saying he has of a woman being offered money to come forth with allegations against President Trump, on top of the already admitted forged signature on the yearbook that was admitted by Gloria Allred's client. I mean, Roger, this just has phony, fraud, political witch hunt written all over it, and they don't even care that they're putting real victims of sexual assault under the bus on this one.
Well, and very clearly, they are prepared to sacrifice their own. Now, in the case of Al Franken, recognize that he has not resigned. He has only said that he is going to resign. And then yesterday, in what was clearly a very orchestrated move, former Minnesota Governor Arne Carlson, for whom I have a high regard, called for Franken to stay on in the Senate based on the fact that Roger Stone coached Leanne Tweeden, the woman who was the first sexual assault accuser of Senator Franken. Once again, to make this abundantly clear, since I no longer have a Twitter feed on which to clarify this, I have never met, spoken to, or communicated in any way with Leanne Tweeden. I do not know the lady. The inference that because I have appeared on KABC's John Phillips radio show, that Phillips, a co-worker of Tweeden, is my source, is emphatically false. My only role in this entire matter is reporting it for INFOWARS.com. And in this case, we did so almost 6 hours before the mainstream media. But that did not stop the out-of-work actor Tom Arnold from claiming that Stone and Phillips coached Tweeden, a lie, and that he would produce proof of this. Well, Fatso, lay it on us. Where's your proof? Where's the documentation of this stunning falsehood? You've got nothing. But you did successfully prank the former governor of Minnesota. To their credit, the Minnesota Star Tribune, the Minneapolis Star Tribune, when I brought my denial to their attention, added it to their story. But I think it was Benjamin Franklin who said that a lie is halfway around the world before the truth even puts its pants on. And that is the case. You can now go online and you will see literally dozens of stories repeating the fake news that we at InfoWars, and that I specifically, coached Leanne Tweeden. Never met the woman. I'm calling Tom Arnold out because now he's resorted to cyber stalking me, telling people where I eat dinner in Manhattan and urging people to confront me. I believe that violates Twitter's guidelines, Owen. Why hasn't this man been banned? He is fomenting violence against people on Twitter, very specifically against their guidelines.
Yeah, that's strange how that works. How Tom Arnold doesn't have to go by the Twitter guidelines and all the death threats against Trump. And now you've got people running against Elizabeth Warren, Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai receiving death threats. So, yeah, it's funny how a conservative, and you didn't, let's be clear, you did not threaten anyone. You did not make any violent threats or any wrong statements in your tweets. You simply just made tweets that, well, irked some people in the liberal media, quite frankly. But I think the only answer is obvious here, Roger. You have to own Twitter for the guidelines to actually be withheld here.
Well, that's coming. As I have already said, I'm going to be teaming with my friend Milo and others to file the mother of all lawsuits. In fact, I'd go so far to say multiple lawsuits. And we're going to vigorously pursue Twitter. But I must tell you, Owen, they've already announced that their new guidelines are coming down in December. So the truth is, I think I just got censored here roughly 60 days before everybody else. They want to silence all conservative voices when the people they should be silencing are people like Tom Arnold, who advocates violence. I was dining with two friends, one an African-American, the other a Caucasian, but he referred to my companions as ebony and ivory. I think that's racist, don't you?
Well, if it was the other way around and you made a statement like that, it would certainly be racist. But if it comes from the lips of a good liberal, you know, they can't possibly be racist. They're the anti-racists.
Well, look, Tom Arnold has an upcoming gig at the Comedy Store on Sunset Boulevard, and I gather ticket sales are not going particularly well. So he has to grab on a little bit of my celebrity. He obviously has watched the Netflix documentary, Get Me Roger Stone, multiple times. He blames me for everything he sees wrong in Donald Trump. He doesn't understand that Trump's his own man and that only Donald Trump decides what Donald Trump will do. But I'm getting fed up by his cyber stalking and the fact that I was held to a very different standard than he was. He, on the other hand, is out of work and I'm not. So that's that.
Well, hey, this is just another piece of evidence that you can use in these lawsuits against Twitter that clearly shows that the guidelines mean nothing. It's all about your political beliefs and who you are as to what and who they're going to censor. But, you know, it's funny because I'm thinking Tom Arnold, Roger Stone, why is he stalking you? What's the deal here? There's a weird dynamic going on here, Roger. It happened last night. INFOWARS did live coverage of the Alabama Senate race. All of our detractors and haters were watching our coverage. They weren't watching anyone else. They were watching us. These people are obsessed with us. The people that hate us are obsessed with us. I think Tom Arnold is just obsessed with you, Roger.
No, I think the reason that Tom Arnold is stalking me, Owen, is because I love Roseanne Barr. She is the best, a patriot and a great, great woman. Obviously, he couldn't hold on to her, but I think it's my admiration for her that's driving him crazy.
Well, you've certainly been successful in driving him crazy, and he's probably thinking about you right now. He may even be tuned in. So we say hello, Tom Arnold, as we go to break, as he is continuing to stalk Roger Stone. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the...
and take out their political opponents. They are purging their own perverts to set the precedent that even a mere accusation of sexual impropriety should be enough to destroy someone. Now, we at InfoWars have been predicting that the Democrats would be exploiting this Weinstein effect to attack Trump. They need sacrificial lambs to boost debunked sexual accusations made against President Trump during the 2016 election cycle and perhaps even make up new ones. Well, lo lo and behold, that's exactly what former Fox News host Bill O'Reilly is now predicting. He says there's going to be a huge fake sex assault claim against Trump coming in January based around fake accusations of sexual assault. He says that this is happening because the Democrats are in a panic and they've got to go all in right now because Donald Trump actually has a pretty good chance of getting reelected. So they've got to destroy him now with accusations. O'Reilly said there's an audio tape of an anti-Trump person offering $200,000 to a woman to accuse Donald Trump of untoward behavior. He said that there are at least 3 crimes on the tape. He also added that Donald Trump knows about the tape and should be drawing attention to it to highlight how the entire raft of sexual assault allegations against him is an industry, that there are false charges and that there is money changing hands. Now, O'Reilly says that he's getting this out now because he is not going to allow the country to be deceived. Everyone believes everything at face value these days, and so that is a very powerful weapon that you can use against your enemies. If the precedent has been set where anyone can be destroyed by a mere accusation, well, then all that's going to do is create huge incentives for both parties to launch fake accusations, which that's really concerning when you think about the future. Now that we know AI is actually able to create indistinguishable false realities, humanity soon won't be able to tell the difference between reality and a simulation. Kit Daniels talked about these new advanced graphics manipulation, which allows
There you have it, the promotional video for Jeb and the Bush crime family. This is a stunning true story of elitism, privilege, ambition, fraud, intelligence, assassination, child trafficking, adultery, and drug trafficking. The true story of the Bush dynasty. You can get your copy now for Christmas at the INFOWARS store. It was written by yours truly and St. John Hunt, the son of the legendary CIA agent. This is a satisfying read for anyone interested in American politics and the truth about an American criminal political dynasty. I'm Roger Stone. We're back on the War Room with my colleague Owen Schroyer. Owen, is it not amazing to you the way the Mueller-Trump takedown is being exposed at all levels as the partisan wrecking crew, as the left-wing hit job that it really is? It's falling apart on them before our very eyes.
And vindicating all of our reports once again. I mean, you look at these texts from Peter Strzok, and it's like, you can't be any more biased. I mean, he doesn't think anyone. He thinks that Trump should get 0 votes. He's meeting with Andrew McCabe inconspicuously as well. You've got the ties in now directly with Fusion GPS, the Obama administration, and the Clintons. I mean, this has reached unprecedented levels to the point where now you've got these congressmen on the Hill questioning Rosenstein about it. You've got DeSantis. You've got Gowdy, you've got Jim Jordan, you've got Gaetz. I mean, people are raising an awareness about this. Orrin Hatch was busy talking taxes today, but he's brought awareness to this. I mean, Chuck Grassley. So this is not going to go away. They're going to have to address this. And while I was listening to these testimonies today, Roger, something hit me. And I want to hear your thoughts on this, because I know that we've had very outspoken discussions on Jeff Sessions before. But hearing this today, this Russian investigation, this Russian probe, this Russian collusion probe, and everything that it has wound into, and this storm that's been built out of it, has been so toxic, so honestly probably illegal, and perhaps even treasonous, that I'm starting to think now that the reason why Jeff Sessions recused himself is because he wanted so far away from this thing. He didn't even want to smell it. He didn't want to touch it. He didn't want to have to look at it. He didn't want people bringing it to his office, questioning him. I mean, I know that we're demanding Sessions do something, and I still am. I still think we need that second counsel to investigate the dossier, to investigate Uranium One, to investigate this special counsel. But what are your thoughts? I mean, is there a potential that he recused himself just because he knew the toxicity of what was going to happen here?
It's hard to understand, Owen. I guess my question is, watching Rod Rosenstein today tap dance before the House Judiciary Committee, I can't figure out how Rosenstein, a crony of Comey and Mueller, indeed, I called them the three amigos in a piece I wrote not that long ago, how he ever got appointed in the Trump administration. How is it that Rod Rosenstein, a liberal establishment Republican, best friends with Comey and Mueller, is in the number 2, de facto, the number 1 position in the Trump Justice Department? It boggles the mind. But when I researched this, I found that he had been recommended for the job by none other than Reince Priebus, the former Republican national chairman and the first Trump presidential White House chief of staff. And where did Mr. Priebus get this recommendation, you ask? From Elijah Cummings, the Democratic congressman from Baltimore. This makes no sense whatsoever. But now, Mr. Rosenstein is the de facto Attorney General of the United States because Jeff Sessions is an absentee landlord.
Well, we may be looking at a situation here where Rosenstein and Mueller essentially, perhaps unwittingly, were put on the chopping block, whether it by Priebus or by Trump, because this is all turning back on them. I mean, you can't deny the text in that Peter Strzok was sending that indicates McCabe was meeting there too. I mean, it shows their clear bias. The entire team is anti-Trump. I mean, this isn't even up for debate anymore. They can't even deny that the text and the things that are being revealed are true. I don't know where it goes next. I mean, again, until somebody moves to investigate the council or to investigate Uranium One, where their names get put out there, I mean, this thing is just going to continue to unravel to more unprecedented levels, I feel.
Well, look, thank goodness for Trey Gowdy and Jim Jordan and Ron DeSantis and Matt Gaetz. These guys are fearless. They are not part of the Republican establishment. They're free thinkers, and they are leading the charge. I'd have to add Chairman Nunes to that. But Mr. McCabe simply refuses to show up. How brazen is that? You're on The War Room. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're on The War Room with your hosts, Roger Stone and Owen Schroyer. And joining us now is California attorney and longtime libertarian and Republican activist, Tyler Nixon. Tyler has been looking into Mr. Mueller and joins us now from Denver. Tyler, welcome to The War Room.
It's good to be with you, Roger and Owen, as always.
So what do you make of this waiver that the Justice Department refuses to disclose that evidently Mr. Mueller signed with the U.S. Justice Department?
Now, the waiver, are you speaking of the conflict of interest disclosure that was made by the assistant U.S. attorney?
Well, yesterday's Politico reported that Mueller signed some kind of waiver, pertaining to Wilmer Hale.
Well, what it is,
how do you read that?
As I had said to you, as I had said previously, last appearance with you all, there was supposedly a conflict of interest check with Robert Mueller. And as I understood it, the way it had been phrased in the media, it was only extended to Wilmer Hale, the law firm at which he retired to, effectively became a rainmaker, one of these white shoe firms, and that those were the only connections. They mentioned that the Trump family are also clients of Wilmer Hale, and they cleared him there. But I said said that, this man's been in government for 30 years. Those are the connections and the conflicts that matter. There's this assumption that because you work within government, that there's no, and you're a Robert Mueller, a Rod Rosenstein, there's no partisanship. And that's an absurd, ridiculous proposition. There are hundreds and thousands of attorneys in Washington, D.C., for example, who haven't donated to Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump or any candidate. And they're clean, and they are nonpartisan. They just do their jobs. But of course, in this case, Robert Mueller's 30-year career and everything he's done was never even considered. It wasn't a waiver. It was, just essentially a sign-off, saying that I approve his placement as a special counsel. And there was this was literally like the day after it was announced. So, what kind of thorough review could have been done on Robert Mueller, number one? And there wasn't one within his 30-year career in government, as if that just doesn't matter. No conflicts there. And then also the fact that it was done so quickly. It's like there's no way they did a proper check. And even if they did a proper check, what are they going to check? Because they believe themselves to be nonpartisan within themselves. This Peter Strzok character, these texts are, oh my God, this is just beyond. I'm flabbergasted at what this man was writing. But you know what? It's what we've suspected all along. It's what we've known all along. And Mueller put these people in place. He himself has questionable ties, or questionable, not ties, I would say, but he was the FBI director. There's a lot of things that were partisan issues where he took a position that regardless of whether he says, he was following the law, and as Rod Rosenstein is today, gives you the spiel about, this is just the straightforward objective G-man, which even Comey couldn't hold together in testimony. But, that's what they give you is that type of testimony. But the reality is that they are partisans in the sense of policy particularly. And unfortunately, they've taken their power to the degree where, they view themselves as the law. Whatever they do, it's fine. And unfortunately, they were co-opted by the Clinton cabal, the Clinton crime machine, really is what it is. And hopelessly compromised, Roger. You cannot unbake the cake legally. You had people within that organization, within the special counsel's investigation, who have permanently and irrevocably tainted it. It has to be dismantled. It has to be started over, if anything. But it needs to inhere and be brought in. We need to bring in the investigation of Uranium One. And, the people, Rod Rosenstein, for example, was a U.S. attorney and, involved in the investigation of Uranium One because he was out of Baltimore, and the company that was involved in the racketeering and the bribes and the kickbacks, 10M USA, was out of Bethesda, Maryland. So presumably it fell within his jurisdiction. Well, he declined to do anything about it. There was no prosecutions. They muzzled the confidential informant. And this is all related back to the Clinton Foundation. And then, of course, it's almost really too much this is the Clinton-esque way. They complicate things beyond belief. They create complexity to where you're trying to unpack it. It's so diabolical and complex, it's almost impossible to get to the bottom of it. But thank God, I think the way it's been done this time is so brazen and so just belligerent, really, and so anti-democratic and just despicable that they can't get away with it. And I hope this is their ultimate downfall. I always knew the Clintons were headed for a major downfall. And let's hope that this is the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Now, you looked into Mr. Mueller's bar status preliminarily. What did you find?
Well, he's a member of the State Bar of California, as am I. And, the bottom line is that when you become a federal prosecutor or a federal attorney, you effectively sort of leave the auspices of the State Bar, as I understand it. So what happens is if someone like that, a special counsel, goes on to inactive status. So he's not subject. And this makes sense. I believe this should be the case that, federal prosecutors, federal appointed attorneys, sworn attorneys for the government are not subject to bar ethics per se on a state level, because, you can't have that. You'd have people filing disciplinary complaints against prosecutors across the country, left, right, and center, and many of them probably righteously. So, he's basically went into inactive status, so his license is, properly maintained in California. It was concurrent with his acceptance of the appointment. The other thing I like to say is, basically, government attorney like Mueller, he has no other, it's almost impossible. The actual special counsel regulation, which I've read over as well, is a regulation within the Department of Justice, says it has to be an attorney from outside, or it doesn't even say an attorney. It doesn't have to be an attorney, as I understand it. I mean, it doesn't say that. Of course, it's going to be. But they have to be outside of government. Now, that doesn't mean you just left the government, 30-year service, and you're just called back within a couple of years to come to the rescue of your buddy who took your place as FBI director. I mean, this is like, it's flouts the actual regulation itself, the fact that it was done this way. When they say outside government, they mean someone who is independent even of the government, because if you're a special counsel, you're investigating internal, usually. Conflicts of interest can't be resolved. So you want someone outside that system. They took the ultimate insider, Bob Mueller, and stuck him. I mean, it's just, everything they've done about this has been rigged from the beginning. Each one of those things, each one of these little anomalies, these little, fix-ups that they put together, in and of themselves may not, indicate anything specific, but in totality, though, it's just a scam. I mean, it really is. It's a complete scam, and it needs to be dismantled. And the further it goes, the more at risk of a constitutional crisis, but not of the kind the Democrats would have you believe.
I have just been informed that Drudge has posted a link from Vanity Fair that reports that I am writing a book on the fall of Trump. Incorrect. What I said was, if the president is taken down in a coup, an illegitimate coup, I would write a book called The Unmaking of the President. I have begun talking about this and keeping notes for such a book. So I want to clarify, this is something I will do if they sack our president illegitimately. But I am not writing a book called The Fall of Trump. I don't know where that name comes from. But I will write a book on how the Quislings in the Trump administration are plotting against him in a 25th Amendment play. I'm glad we had the opportunity to clarify that. We are going to take your calls later on. That number, 1-888-201-2244, right here on the War Room. And while you can, go to the InfoWars store now for all your Christmas shopping. I'm Roger Stone with Tyler Nixon and Owen Schroyer, and we will be right back.
Welcome back to the War Room. Owen Schroyer, Roger Stone, our guest, Tyler Nixon. We're about to take some of your calls. Again, we are talking about the totally biased Russia-Trump collusion probe that has now been blown out of the water, not even falling apart at the seams, completely blown apart at the seams. And real quick, before we go back to Roger Stone, I have to remind you about big specials right now at InfoWarsStore.com. In fact, not just big specials, Christmas week specials. That's right, we're going beyond Black Friday, beyond Cyber Monday, Christmas week. Not one day of great savings, but an entire week of great savings, because after all, it's Christmas. So we're going to make Christmas about Christmas again, and with Christmas week, we have huge savings at InfoWarsStore.com. And don't forget, next Monday, we'll be doing the Christmas Spectacular Extravaganza, a 34-hour broadcast that starts with real news December 18th at 8 a.m. and concludes at the finish of the War Room Tuesday 19th at 6 p.m. Of course, you'll be hearing from Alex Jones throughout that broadcast. And that is made possible by your support at InfoWarsStore.com. We've got the introductory rate of Cellforce 50% off Knockout, Survival Shield, Vitamin Mineral Fusion, Alpha Power, a new product, Prostagard, all kinds of 50% off specials right now as part of Christmas week at InfoWarsStore.com. Silver Bullet is on sale, Brain Force, InfoWars Life Select Storable Food, and of course, free shipping store-wide as part of Christmas week. Free shipping, folks. Big savings at InfoWarsStore.com. You've got the InfoWars Store gift card to take advantage of as well. So please check out InfoWarsStore.com. Shop with the good guys. Help us expand into 2018. This is a big season for us to continue our expansion as we are building new studios. Alex Jones has plans for the future, but it's only possible with you supporting us at InfoWarsStore.com. So today, Roger, as Rosenstein is getting questioned on the Hill, he gets asked the question directly: do you believe that there is cause to fire Robert Mueller because of a bias investigation, because of clear partisanship? And he says no. I don't see how that's, clearly there's cause. I mean, clearly there's bias here. He can't even admit it, though?
You know, Owen, I don't think the removal of our president is inevitable. But if that clip does not wake him up, what will? The president must reject the happy talk that he's getting from his lawyers and the White House staff. Mueller is a hitman for the establishment. He has played that role for both the Clintons and the Bushes, and he now has his sights set on the president. This, as it is unfolding before us, the text messages, the campaign contributions to Democrats, the stunning activities of FBI agent Strzok, this has to be a book, and I will write a book if our president is taken down in an illegitimate coup, because this has to be legitimized. There is one man who can save Donald Trump. That is a Donald Trump. He's a fighter, he's a brawler, he's a scrapper, and he has to wake up to the deep enmity that the deep state and the two-party duopoly has for him. He has to wake up before it is too late. I say these things not out of criticism, but out of concern. He pulled off the greatest political upset in American history. And now the very people he beat at the ballot box seek to redress that and to reverse the results of the last presidential election. It is nothing less than that. Tyler, what do you think?
Well, I think behavior, and criminal behavior in particular, that goes incessantly unpunished is going to be not only repeated, but then advanced and escalated. The president's attorneys are not lacking, I'm sure, in wits and knowledge and smarts and good lawyerly manners and courtesy, and they completely lack political sophistication. We are dealing here with ruthless, megalomaniac, sociopathic, if not psychopathic, people who are intent on burning. They don't care. They would rather burn this country down than see it controlled by someone else, or see themselves not in control of it. So, this is exactly why myself, I'm politically savvy and understanding. I know enough, but I mean, they blow my mind in terms of the layers of diabolical, internecine, sophisticated, complex plans, as I mentioned earlier with the Clintons. They are just, it's almost like they just operate inherently and reflexively out of evil. I'm sorry, it just is. They are they just are degenerates. They do not care about anything whatsoever except their own self-service and their own aggrandizement and glorification. And there are plenty of people who have careers at stake and who have taken it seriously. I don't think Robert Mueller is an evil person, but I think he's woefully in the cloister of his federal government, thinking he's doing the right thing potentially. But he's ignoring so much that he's compromised. I mean, even if you don't think he's evil, he's made very evil choices in terms of the ultimate result, which would be a coup d'etat in the United States. It reminds me so much, Roger, and you know all about this, of what they did to JFK. I mean, you look at how they tried to foist operations on him and tried to really take him down initially the Bay of Pigs and get what they could done. And then they proceeded to try to begin undermining him until finally in the third year, they're like, we have to kill this guy. We can't stop him. And I really fear, Donald Trump couldn't be more different than John F. Kennedy in terms of style and so forth. And, Kennedy was very literate, poetic almost. Trump is a brawling populist. But they basically represent the same thing, which is a major and intrinsic and existential threat to this whole system that has been layered on top of another to rape the American people, to destroy constitutionalism and our republic as we know it, and to install a permanent welfare, warfare, police state, essentially controlled by an elite class of largely Democrat politicians, but there's plenty of Republicans in there as well, involving royalist families and heredity. I just looked at Debbie Dingell, John Dingell's daughter's a congressman, Conyers, after 52 years, going to give up his seat to his son? I mean, or whatever it is, whichever member of his family had several members vying for. I mean, this is twisted and perverse, and I'm glad that it's coming to a head as we know it under this president. It's, I think he's one who can buck up, and bear it, and take us to the finish line, because if we don't push this back, we will lose it all. And I thank God for INFOWARS, certainly, because you think about what a few key voices, the patriots, the Paul Revere's, and then the George Washingtons, who have really stood up and been willing to take the hits, the horrible hits. Alex Jones in particular. I mean, this man is so maligned and horribly defamed and treated. It's just sad. I mean, he has been I can't thank him enough as an American for what he's done for our Constitution, just to keep the flame alive against these ruthless people. And the president, if he can get good counsel around him, it's very frustrating, Roger, as you know, when we have talks, to see him so poorly advised and being sort of walked, as you say, sleepwalked to the gallows. I hope he makes some better decisions in the new year. I certainly stand ready, to do anything. If he ever called me up, I'd give him, Roger, he really ought to have you right off the Oval Office. And, General Kelly can stuff it. You want a political advisor as well as in his case, you want a political advisor as well as an official, formal, whatever, chief of staff. And if the president gets the right advice and makes the right moves, the Democrats have exposed themselves. I mean, I just can't imagine how much more compromised the whole thing can get. Russia, special counsel, all of it. But he's got to do it right, or they'll just take him out before he can ever make it. And that's what they did with Kennedy. So let's hope they don't do it to Trump and politically assassinate him where they physically assassinated John F. Kennedy.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I'm not denying that his lawyers are not able attorneys, but this is a political proceeding. It is not just a legal battle. They will use any trumped-up charge, any illegitimacy. This is a fraudulent political mock trial. You need somebody who understands the law and politics. And I don't think the president has that today. So let me thank you, Tyler Nixon, for joining us here on The War Room. Thank my colleague, Owen Schroyer, the ever dapper Owen Schroyer. And thank the Info Warriors for visiting the InfoWars store now for all your Christmas shopping. Help us help you. Help us finance the exciting expansion that Alex Jones has planned for InfoWars. If you like the War Room, if you like our 10 hours of daily programming, go to the InfoWars store and give us your support. Thank you for joining us on the War Room.